Hello students, so today we will discuss scope of objects in Python. So before starting with scope of objects, we will see what is a scope. So scope is a part of program within which a name is legal and accessible is called scope of program. What does it mean? Consider if you are creating a Python program and you have created xyz.py file and you are creating a variable var here. So this variable will be accessible throughout this file. So scope of this variable is this file. This is called a part of program within which the name is legal and accessible is called scope of the name. So in this case, xyz.py, scope of where is this file, full file. Fine. Now consider a program with function. So what function does? Inside this main program, it creates its own block. So whatever we will write will be accessible throughout this block, but we cannot access from outside this block. We cannot access where to from here. We can access where to from inside this block only. This block. So the scope of where to is this block. But we can access where from here inside because the scope of where is full file. So this function is also coming inside this file. That is why we can access where from this function. Fine. Now let us move to our programming example. In my program, I have created var is equal to 10 and I have created one function. Then I am calling that function and I have two print statement, one within the function, another outside the function. As we discussed in this example, we can access this var within the function as well as outside the function. So the same thing I am access var within this function and outside this function. So you can see the output. We can access both var from within the function as well as outside the function. So this is called scope of any name. It may be your function name, it may be your variable name. So all the objects in Python, everything in the Python is object, that you know. So everything that is an object has some scope where you can access it and from where you cannot access it. There are three types of variable. If we talk about variables in terms of scope, so there are three types of variable according to scope. First is local variable, second is global variable, third is non-local variable. So we will see these three one by one. Let us first see what is a global variable. We will start with local variable. Okay. So local variable. A variable declared inside the function's body or the local scope is called local variable. So you can see by the word local, you can understand it. Whatever is defined inside or locally is called local variable. So if I have a function and I am defining something it, so whatever is inside this function will be local to this function. You cannot access these things outside this function. Fine. See this example. I have one function. I have this variable y, so you can access y within this function only. If you try to access outside this function, it will give the error. So as you can see, I can access it from here. If I am accessing it from here, it is giving me error. So the output is local. Now we understand what happens. Now we will try to understand what happens when Python see this line and how it creates a variable. Let us consider this is my program. xyz.py. So when I run this program, Python comes here and it sees this function, and what it will do in the memory it will create an object. We discussed this when we learned function. It creates an object foo in the memory. Fine. Then it will come here at this line number 5 and you are calling foo. Then it will search list of object. If foo is there, then it will go to this object and starts running. So what is inside this? These two lines. So whenever Python sees this line, any variable name and equal to, it creates an object within that scope. So it created the object y within this scope. The value here is local. The value here is local. Local. Fine. Then it comes to this line, print y. So it will search by where? First in local scope, second in global scope. We saw three things: local, non-local, and global. So what happens? It searches in local scope, then non-local scope, then global scope. So we will see this non-local scope after a while when we discuss non-local variable. So you know the order now. What happens? It searches first in local, then non-local, then global. Since y is inside this local scope, so it will print the output local. Then it will go to the next line, which is the end of the function. So it will return to this line here, and then it comes here. This is commented. If it would not have been commented, then what happens? It will search the y in the local scope of xyz.py. This is xyz.py, and there is nothing here in this file like y, so it will give me error. Fine. I hope it is clear to you. Now let us move to global variable. So global variable in Python, a variable declared outside the function or the global scope is known as global variable. Outside of the function or in global scope is known as global variable. So what is global scope? If this is my file, so whatever declared in this file is global, and this function is local to this, and whatever is declared inside this function foo is local to foo only. Now see what happens in this example. Whenever a Python sees or we run our program xyz.py in the memory, what happens? This is the memory location for xy running of xyz.py. What happens? First it comes to this line. This line. So it found x. So what it will do? X is equal to as soon as it finds x equal to or any variable and equal to symbol, then only it will create an object with the name of that variable, and if any value is there it will assign global to it. It will assign that value in that variable. Now it moved to def foo. What happens? It will create another object with the name foo, and if anything is there, then it will create this that variables locally, and if it is not there, then it will move to next line. We are calling foo, then it will go to foo. It will print x inside this line. So see this global scope. So first it will find x. We have to print x. First it will find x within local scope of foo. It is not there. Then it will find non-local. Non-local we will discuss. What is non-local is, if this is local, then we can create nested functions. If it is foo, if it is foo1, foo is inside foo1. So this is local, this is non-local, and this x y z dot py is global. We will discuss it. So in non-local space also there is no non-local space. Nothing will happen. Then global. Yes, global is there. So x is there in global scope. So it will print x inside is global, and it will come to line number 7. X outside, then again x. It will find it's in x in its local scope. What is the local scope of this line? you can see it is starting from this point only. So this full scope is local to this variable. So value of x inside this scope is global. So it will print global. Fine. Now let us see using global and local both the variables together with same name. Yes, you can use it. See if this is my global scope and this is my local scope. This is my xyz.py. This is foo. I can create x is equal to 10 here and I can create x is equal to 5 here. So when you are accessing print x from local, then it will take this local variable. And if you are printing from x here, it will take this variable local to this. What is local to this print? This one. And what is to local to this print? This one, this full block. Fine. So this is again seeing the order in which it has to search the variable. First local, then non-local, then global. If it is not find anywhere, then it will give the error. Consider this example. In this example, this is the full block of code. Fine. So we will create our global scope. The global scope is xyz.py and it will start running from the line number 1. So in the global scope, the value of x is 5. And it comes to foo. As soon as it sees the foo, it will create the object name foo in the memory. Okay. Then whatever the inside this, it will create. It will not run, but it will create the objects whatever there. As soon as it sees the x equal to part, fine. Then what happens? It will create an object in the memory with the name whatever given there. And if value is there, then it will give the value also. So what happens first? As soon as it sees this line x equal to, then it will create a block x. Then it see the part after equal to. If any value is there, then it will assign the value. Then it will come to next line foo. So when we comes to foo, we will search the object with the name foo, and it will go to that object and run line by line. So first line number 4 is x equal to 10. So 10 is assigned. The next line is print local x. So it will search in local space. What is first is local. So what is local? This body only. So the value of x is 10. It will print local x is 10. Then it will come to line number 8. It will print global x and it will search x. It will search x in its local scope. The local of this print is this full body. The value of x in this local scope is 5. So it will print 5. Now the question is how to access the global variable inside, sorry, how to access this global variable inside this function and change it if the name of both the variables are same. We will see it practically. short a while practically. We'll see this. Note it down, we will see it practically. Fine, so let us move to practical also only. We will see this non-local after doing practicals of local and global. Otherwise, it will become little complicated for you. So let us start practical for local and global. Okay, so we are seeing scope of objects in Python. So we saw what is an scope, part of program within which a name is legal and accessible is called the scope of that name. So we saw this example where we are giving the variable globally and then we can access it from local function as well as from global function, global, full global environment. Now let us change this. We can run it. The output is 10 and 10. Let us change it. Let us make it commented and we will make a variable inside the program. So as you can see, I have commented the first variable name and I have made the variable with the same name inside the function. That means I have made the variable local. So what will happen in this case? As soon as it sees the function, the var will be local to this function, and if I want to access this var from outside this function, I cannot access it because var is local to function only. As soon as the program comes outside the function, it cannot access the variables within the function. Fine. Let us run this. What happens? Hmm. Why it is not giving the error? Okay. Okay. So I think I have taken where in somewhere in the program. So let us change the name of this variable. I am using where somewhere in my global scope. That is why it is not giving me the error. Let us make it where 1, where 9, where 9, where 9. Now execute it. Yes. Now you can see, the error. Name where 9 is not defined. Where? At line number 5 outside. Fine. So I cannot access where 9 from outside of the function because where 9 is local to this function only. So what happens when it comes here? It will search in the global scope of this program. So So it will search all the global variables. It cannot see this var9. Var9 is visible to this function only. Fine. I hope it is clear to you. Now let us make this var9 a global variable. Now execute it. See, it has executed successfully. Fine. So now let us move to some next part, local variable. A local variable declared inside the function's body or in the local scope is known as local variable. We discussed it. Now let us see the practical example of it. So I have created a function foo where I am taking variable y which is local to this function. So y is local to foo. When I call this function foo, what happens? It will go here and then take this variable locally and then print it. Fine. So let us run this. Yes, because the output is already written there. I will make local 19. So you can see this local 19 is printing. What happens if I want to access this from outside this function? It will give me the error. Y is not defined. The same thing we saw earlier. So I will make it commented again and then run. See, no error. Now move to global variable. In Python, a variable declared outside of the function or in global scope is known as global variable. This means that a global variable can be accessed inside or outside the function. We saw this thing. Now see the practical of global variable. See this small code. I have taken x, which is a global variable to this program, and I have created a function foo, and I am calling foo function, and I am printing x within the function and outside the function. Now let's run this program. Let us change this variable global 19. Now you can see the output is global 19, global 19. That means I am accessing within the function as well as outside the function. Both the times the value is same. That means I can access a global variable inside the function as well as from outside the function. Let's see using global and local variable together with same name. So here I am taking global variable x and local variable x. Both are same with same name. What happens in this case? Let us make it 55 and make it 11. So you can see locally the value of x is 11, okay, and globally the value of x is 55. Why? Because the global is 55. From the line number 8 I cannot access variable declared at line number 4 because line number 4 variable is local to foo only. Fine. What if I want to access it within the function? I want what I want. Listen the question carefully. I can change the 55 global, that is global, to 11 from within the function. Listen the question again. I want to change the global variable from within the function. Fine. Now what I can do, I want what I want. I want this is 11, fine, and I want this global to be 11. I want to change global variable from a function. I am doing it 11, but it is not becoming 11. It is still 55. So what I will do, I have to write one line. That line is global x. Now my function x will refer to global variable x. Now whatever I change in the function will change in the global variable, and I can access global variable from within the function and I can change it. See, now the both the global and local became 11. Fine. Now the question for you is, if I remove this line and I say x is equal to x plus 11, then what will happen? This is your question. Right, this question, this is your question. What will happen? What will happen if I run this code, and why? What and why? This is your question. Fine. Now let us move to our program. So we have seen this non-local variable, we will see in our next video. So as soon as I told you it finds x equal to, it will create an object with the name x, and if something is there it will assign the value. Fine. Now another question for you is, question number 2 for you. Consider this example only. X is equal to 5. Def foo. Consider print x and then foo. Here also print x. So your question is, will it work? Will it work? And why? And question number 3 for you is, since it is working, that means x is accessible from global. If I print this, if it is working, if above program is working, then why this program? Why this program is not changing x? Because you can see, if it x is accessible from this function, you can print it, then why you cannot change it? These are the three questions. Solve these questions and give me the answer. Thank you.